Some years ago, I happened upon a little book with the striking title, To Quell the Terror. To Quell the Terror. So I happened to be on retreat at the time. I picked up the book and I read it and was fascinated by the story of the Carmelite Martyrs of Compiègne, who are not on the general liturgical calendar of the church, but who are listed in the Roman Martyrology today, July 17th, which is the anniversary of their martyrdom, July 17th, 1794, some 226 years ago today. So today we celebrate a Mass of the Blessed Carmelite Martyrs of Compiègne. In a nutshell, here's their story. During the French Revolution and the Reign of Terror, which was incited by Maximilien Robespierre after the storming of the Bastille, when the enemies of the French state were guillotined in such great and horrifying numbers. There was such a thing called the Civil Constitution of the Clergy, which was passed by the French revolutionary government, which subordinated the Catholic Church to the revolutionary government and confiscated all church property and dissolved all religious communities, which were dismissed as useless. So there was this community of cloistered Carmelite nuns living peacefully their lives. And they refused to comply with the civil constitution on the clergy. And so they were imprisoned in a nearby, what had been a visitation convent in Compiègne. And through the month of June 1794, during their imprisonment, they intentionally in prayer offered their lives for the peace of the church in France and an end to the terror. On the 17th of July, notice one day after the feast of their mother, Our Lady of Mount Carmel, on the 17th of July, they were tried and found guilty of treason against the state. So here they are, these probably 12 or 15 Carmelite nuns, and they're brought in a cart from the place of trial to the place of execution where the guillotine was. And usually the crowds were screaming and yelling when they saw those convicted of treason against the revolutionary state brought to the place of execution, but eyewitnesses reported that the crowds were eerily silent. So they get to the place of execution, and they're wearing their Carmelite religious habits, imagine. And there's the scaffold. And at the foot of the scaffold, the mother prioress was named Mother Teresa of St. Augustine, OCD, of the Order of Discalced Carmelites. And right there at the foot of the scaffold, they all renewed the promises of their baptism and their vows in religion. And there's one novice with them. Sister Constance was her name in religion. And so right there at the foot of the scaffold, she made her perpetual profession to Mother Teresa of St. Augustine. So then, she was the first to go up to the scaffold where the guillotine was. All of them had this little statue about this. Well, there was one statue of our Blessed Mother, which was like about this big. It still exists today. And Sister Constance had it first. So she kissed the statue of the Blessed Mother. She turns to Mother Teresa of St. Augustine and says, Permission to die, mother. Go, my daughter. She mounts the scaffold, waves off the executioners, lies down on the bed of the guillotine, and begins to intone Psalm 116. Laudate Dominum omnes gentes, laudate eum omnes populi, quoniam confirmata est super nos misericordia eius, et veritas Domini manet in aeternum, and the truth of the Lord remains forever. And the whole Carmelite community starts chanting Psalm 116. Laudate Dominum omnes gentes, laudate eum omnes populi. And the whole community is chanting. And the crowd is eerily silent. And there's the drum roll, at the foot of the scaffold. And so the only two sounds in the vast crowd are the drum roll and the Carmelite nuns chanting Psalm 116. And one by one, the guillotine bangs down, and the chanting is diminished one by one by one. The next nun holds the statue of the Blessed Mother, kisses the image of our Blessed Lady, whose feast they had celebrated the day before. Mother, permission to die. My daughter, go. One by one, they closed their eyes to this world and opened them to the vision of their divine bridegroom. They had intentionally offered their lives for the peace of the church in France and an end to the terror. 10 days later, on the 27th of July, the reign of terror ended. The Blessed Carmelite Martyrs of Compiègne. They were buried in a mass grave next to the place of execution, where many others who were guillotined were buried. And a few bits of clothing, and I believe the statue of the Blessed Mother, are preserved today at Stanbrook Abbey in England, where they are venerated with great affection. The martyrdom of the Blessed Carmelite Martyrs of Compiègne is commemorated in an opera called The Dialogues of the Carmelites, written in 1957 by Francis Poulenc. And Georges Bernanos wrote I believe, a libretto or something like that based on all of this. A very little known story in the life of the church, but one of great heroism. Striking, isn't it, that they were martyred the day after the feast of Our Lady of Mount Carmel, just as St. Maximilian Kolbe was martyred one day before the Blessed Mother's Assumption, August 14th, August 15th. We ask the prayers of these women of such courage and such self-sacrifice. Their blood ended the terror. May their prayers strengthen all of us.